Hey everyone, welcome to the Your Money Life podcast, episode 288 of the podcast. This week we'll talk about retirement income sources, benefits, things to do in retirement. It's a topic that's not touched on a lot. So we're going to dive deep into that topic as much as we can in our roundtable. But before we get into that, make sure you like, subscribe, 5-star rate and review this podcast. I'm even recording this 12 hours earlier. It's Wednesday evening. Just finished working out. But I have something to do tomorrow. I'm traveling tomorrow. I'm helping out my wife. We're doing some things together. But that's why I'm recording this early. So make sure that you like, subscribe, 5-star rate and review, because again, you get this information every week and it has to be somewhat helpful to get the information every week. So let's dive into it. We just shared screen for my YouTubers. We are now putting me in the little box in the corner so that you can see what we are talking about. Our first subject of the day is, of course, the market update. We're going to talk a little bit about what the market's been doing the past week. I am actually checking it out right now. And for the past 5 days, we were actually up around 1%. Interestingly enough, right now, when I'm recording this, the market's still open. This market's still open on Wednesday afternoon. There's about 27 minutes left in the market trading period. So far this past month, we're up about 1.5%. In the past 6 months, we're up over 4%. And so the market's chugging along. That's really what you want to see. Chugging along growth. I was anticipating that for a couple of years now, but we got exponential market appreciation and growth. But now we're just chugging along. Year to date, we're up a little bit over 7% halfway through the year. If we end the year at 10% gain, that's a good year. That's an above average year, right? People are accustomed to 20, 30% gains. It's not normal. You want just an average year. You want to compound slowly so you don't even look, you don't even feel the blip. That's a big thing about the market. Let's see what's driving it. There was a big announcement with Apple. Apple popped 5% ahead of a Trump Cook announcement at the White House. So there was an announcement at the White House with the going to be, I should say, with CEO Tim Cook of Apple and President Donald Trump. The event is scheduled for 4:30 p.m. Eastern. So we'll fill you guys in next week on this. But right now, it's Apple set to raise its U.S. investment to 600 billion over the next 4 years. 600 billion over the next 4 years. That's a huge investment into the U.S. Apple shares popped 5% on the news. And so there's going to be an announcement, whole thing, whole event coming up in about an hour. So if you guys are listening to this, obviously you won't be listening to it when I record, but if you're listening to it right after I send it out, it'll be tomorrow. You'll have known about this announcement and you'll maybe have seen some different things on it, but that's a huge, huge market announcement, especially for Apple, 600 billion over 4 years. So that's the big news and what's driving kind of the market move today. Right now, the market's just digesting information. We had, volatility that occurred at the end of last week. The payroll report was disappointing. The Federal Reserve, which we anticipated, did not cut. And so right now you're seeing the market in a holding pattern. Investors are kind of cautious, waiting for the next shoe to drop. What will that be? The Fed is more than likely going to cut in the next round. That would mean, that's what the bettors are thinking. So if that doesn't happen, we could see some volatility in the market because of that. But we do anticipate that to happen soon. People are starting to recognize that tariffs have a different impact on the U.S. as an importer than they would if the U.S. was a major exporter. So, those tariff impacts are starting to be, the effects for them are starting to be more digestible for investors. And we're seeing that the market's been chugging along again. The tariff impact should start have trickled in by now. And so we're not seeing much of that yet. So we're seeing that the consumer health is also not too bad, right? Consumers are still spending, right? There's softer trends for sure, but the credit card processes have shown accelerating trends. People are buying on credit. They're doing Klarna. They're doing those different things that consumers are doing now in this term of consumerism, right? And so they're showing that the data is still, interesting enough. So that's a good thing to note. So we're seeing a lot in the market, but in general, it was a steady market week, nothing crazy, market up a little bit. And there's not too much news to digest this week as opposed to last week with the Fed and payroll data and things of that nature, right? And so that's our big market update. Let's jump into current events. Hulu plus Disney, they're going to emerge in 2026. So of course, you guys know there's a Hulu Plus app and there's a Disney Plus app, or Hulu app, I should say. I don't know if it's called Plus, but they're going to merge because of course they're owned by the same entity. Disney will merge Disney Plus and Hulu platforms next year. The company announced this today. This created a unified streaming service with a wide range of offerings for both kids and adults, and hopefully improving profit margins too. Streaming was a key to Disney's second quarter's earning beats, and also it also announced Wednesday the streaming giant added 2.6 million, mostly international subscribers. So now you're seeing the streaming platforms that are domestic in the US, they try to add international subscribers because they've pretty much saturated the US market more than likely. And they're reaching out and making content for other countries. And that's how they're getting their subscribers. But I think the big thing for this Hulu and Disney Plus merger is because think about it, I think Hulu, obviously, I don't know the subscriber breakdown, but I feel like Hulu has more subscribers. I could be totally wrong on that. And that merging them would put Disney Plus in an advantage for some of its content to be seen. I don't watch Disney. I barely watched it as a kid. I don't like cartoons. What would I watch a cartoon for? I'm a grown adult. My birthday was, last week. Why would I be watching cartoons? But there are people that do. We're not going to call them weird. That's their thing. You know, I knew a girl who used to be obsessed with Cars, the movie, and she was a 20-some-year-old kid, adult, I should say, not kid, but she was acting Cars, the movie at 27 years old. We're not judging. We're just saying. We're just saying. But anyways, Hulu plus Disney is going to merge in 2026. And so I guess she can watch more Cars if she wants. OpenAI is going to target a $500 billion valuation. Think about it, this is a private company still, a $500 billion valuation. And I understand. I know ChatGPT, one of their products, is being used heavily. The appetite for all things artificial intelligence has OpenAI considering a secondary stock sale. This could value the company at $500 billion. This is a Bloomberg report. The sale open to current and former employees would make OpenAI, which just announced it will offer ChatGPT to the government for $1 per agency, one of the most valuable but privately held companies in the world, as I just stated. It would also boost its $300 billion valuation while compensating employees at a time of fierce competition for AI talent. So they're doing this interestingly. They're saying, hey, we're going to do a secondary stock sale open to current and former employees. So some people can liquidate, apparently. Um, but it would boost their valuation to 500 billion if they get this done in the way they're thinking it could go down. And they're going to offer the government agencies for $1 per agency ChatGPT. They're saying, hey, take it. We need you to have it. You can use it. Be on our platform, not others. And so they're really exploding the valuation for a private company. I don't know if they plan to go public. If they do, that's going to be one of the biggest IPOs maybe ever, right? What was Saudi Aramco's IPO? We don't remember that. I don't know. But one of the biggest IPOs ever. That's incredible. Another company that's doing well, and I actually have an interesting theory on them, is Uber. They just approved a stock buyback of 20 billion. They've authorized a stock buyback of 20 million after better than expected second quarter. This is revealed by the company on Wednesday, and that its revenue increased 18% year over year, while gross mobility and delivery bookings rose 18% and 20% respectively. The platform's monthly active users also went up 15%. Wow. So I was actually thinking about this. I'm like, look at your transactions, like your monthly spend or your yearly spend, go over it. Uber and its family of apps, Uber Eats, those things, they're a huge part of what you spend money on. Honestly, think about that. I live in the suburbs and I still am using Uber and delivery and sometimes the car, even though I have a car. But if you just think about how entrenched they are into your everyday life, the efficiency, making things easier, having things delivered to your door, being picked up at your door. If you're going to drink, of course, using Uber, how tied they are in. I mean, that's a recipe for a company that's going to do well over time. So we want to look at two stock charts here for the YouTubers. We're looking at Apple just to get a sense of how Apple's doing post with the announcement, the announcement coming out on at 4:30 p.m. Wednesday time Eastern. Um, and so we're going to look at Apple, and then we will also take a look at Uber here. So one day, Apple's up over 5.5%. It's actually not doing crazy year to date. If you look at the stock, it's down year to date. And 1 year period, it's not doing crazy, but 5 year period, it's doing really well. So it's struggled a little bit year to date, and this announcement is boosting the stock a little bit. So we want to take a check at Uber as well to see how they've been trending so far this year and in the most recent months. Year to date's doing incredibly well, and that was my suspicion. Year to date's doing incredibly well. 6 months really well. And this is a company again that's really riding the high of efficiency and being entrenched in people's lives. I think about that, the companies that have done that, Apple, Google. I see the same thing here. I see the same thing, honestly. So keeping an eye on Uber, they approved the stock buyback, which is saying to investors that they believe that the stock is even undervalued and they want to have own more of their shares, right? It's that boost. It's a boost and a give back to investors. They're up 48. The shares are up 48% this year, and the CEO said they're looking to seek investment to expand its robotaxi business, which is going to be another big part of all these car logistics travel companies, transportation companies over the next decade or so, right? That's going to be huge. Whoever's winning that battle is going to be winning a big part of the market when it comes to transportation. So we'll keep an eye on those companies that are in that push. Another tech company to talk about, tech dominates kind of the market. Google is making a 1 billion college AI push. Google committed 1 billion over 3 years to get college age students around the world fluent in AI. More than 100 universities and institutions are taking part in the Google AI for Education Accelerator, providing a free year of Google AI Pro and free AI training with the ultimate goal of upskilling every student. I love this. People are saying, hey, AI is taking jobs and this and that. Well, they're going to educate kids on AI so that they don't have to worry. They could be part of helping understand AI, using it as a tool, as a resource, creating new AI tools and resources and apps. And so that's what Google is doing. So I actually really, really like this. For people that are interested in AI, look into this, training for kids and university students that are in college, your kids, have them look into it. Because again, it's going to be a very big part of their life if someone's in high school, middle school, college, even a young adult, even a boomer. It's sorry. I mean, you got 20, 30 years left. It's still going to be a very big part of your life. So you have to keep your eye on it. Anyone can take the class, I would assume. Anyone take a course. So look into that. That's really, really interesting. Another big story that we want to touch on is Match Group. As you know, Match Group owns Tinder, Hinge, and all those different dating apps, a lot of them, I should say. But shares of Match Group climbed 10% on Wednesday after the online dating company said it's making progress in its turnaround strategy. It's the parent company, of course, as I mentioned, of Tinder and Hinge, and has been working on innovative ways to integrate artificial intelligence into their apps and other features to attract more users, particularly Gen Z. For us, married people, we don't have to worry about that anymore. I actually first messaged my wife on Hinge, so I actually like these companies. They're good stuff. They're good stuff. So, anyways, they're projected for revenue for the quarter of 910 million to 920 million. This is by analyst expectations. So they're a company that's trying to turn around. Since we've been doing so many different um, stock chart checks, let's check Match out. They've been struggling, but let's check out how they're doing for ourselves, our own eyes, our own edification. Let's look at Match Group as it pulls up here for the YouTubers. So Match Group over the past day, actually of this day, of course, with the announcement of the turnaround, doing fairly well. It's doing decent year to date. It's kind of keeping on trend with the market. But if you look at that 5 year chart, down 67%. Excuse me, we have the first one day, which is 10% gain on their announcement that they're doing some different things. Year to date, they're up 13%. A lot of that's just today. But over the past 5 years, it's struggled. Really, really struggled. They fell off during the bear market and never recovered. You got to wonder why that is. They were hyping COVID, and every company was being artificially pumped with inflated dollars during the bull rush of COVID. But then after that, it's not just that people weren't using it before. What happened? Why did the valuation drop so much? People have still been using the apps before COVID, but what happened there? Did they lose so many users? That's to be seen. But that's what's the situation. So they're trying to make a turnaround rally. And we'll see how that plays out because there's a lot of ground to gain for that company. Folks, in the roundtable, we just finished the New York Public Library webinar, which I love doing the New York Public Library webinars. Some of my favorite because we get to dive into topics. We did an hour and 15 minutes today talking about retirement income planning and income streams in retirement. So I wanted to go over one of our actual sections in the webinar. This section being understanding retirement income streams. There are many different retirement income streams for people. I should say many, but there are several. And before you even get to retirement, you have to answer questions to yourself. Age, timeline, when do you want to retire? What will your cost of living look like when you retire? How much money will you need to retire? Monthly, annually, those are things to understand that tie all together. Of course, there's income streams like Social Security, it's government provided, there's pensions, maybe by your employer, there's investment withdrawals. That's what we handle for a lot of people. So if you talk about Social Security, understanding that there's eligibility and requirements, ages to receive the benefit. There's early and delayed benefits. You can receive it earlier or later. There's spousal and survivor benefits. So you want to maximize your strategies for said Social Security. So if you look at full retirement age for Social Security to start receiving that, before you get to that, you have to be eligible, which generally means you at least have 10 quarters, 40 quarters or 10 years of work where you paid into Social Security. And most of you do that through your taxes already. Even if you're self-employed, you still do that through your taxes. Full retirement age, that's the age at which you're entitled to 100% of your primary insurance amount of Social Security. If you're on YouTube, you can see the charts. If you're born 1960 or later, the full retirement age is 67. Most of us listening are born 1960 or later, so the full retirement age is 67. And so that's when you can receive the primary insurance amount, 100% of your primary insurance amount. You can take that amount earlier or later. Earlier claimers, if you claim before your full retirement age of 67 for most people, your monthly benefit is reduced permanently. The closer you claim, the closer to 62 you claim, the steeper the reduction. Claiming early might be useful if you need income immediately, so think about that. Delaying claims up to age 70, after your full retirement age, you could earn delayed retirement credits, an increase of about 8% per year until age 70. Delay benefits lead to a higher monthly check for the rest of your life. So think about that. Pensions, I don't know how many people have them, but you think about them as defined benefit, traditional pension, or defined contribution. You have different payout options, lump sum or monthly annuity, and you have survivor benefit options in a lot of cases. So the key question is, should you take a lump sum or should you just get the monthly annuity for the rest of your life if it provides for that? Defined, defined benefit plans, the traditional pension sometimes will have a monthly benefit for life, and it's usually a factor of your salary, history, your years of service, age at retirement. Your employer is responsible. They bear the investment risk and they're responsible for funding the plan adequately. When we talked about Social Security, the government's responsible for funding the Social Security through our tax dollars and adequately to budget correctly for Social Security. This is different. This is your employer. Defined contribution plans are kind of like those 401ks. You can sometimes take a one lump sum. If you retire and you want to move it into your IRA, we do that for a lot of folks. Pensions have monthly annuities a lot of times, or you could do lump sum. So that's a quick overview of pension. And of course, investment withdrawals, your 401ks, your IRAs, you can withdraw those to also fund your retirement. That's another income source. There's a 4% rule that people say 4% of the principal can be withdrawn on an annual basis to help alleviate some of the costs of living, in addition to your Social Security, in addition to your potential pension. At the age of 73, you are required by current law to start withdrawing from these traditional IRAs and 401ks. So the government can actually realize the tax revenue from that. Because in the traditional and the 401k, you realize that's pre-tax contributions or tax deferred. So you'll later have to withdraw from them per the government's ruling. But these are sources, folks, of income in retirement. So think about them hard. Think about your cost of living. Think about what may happen when you actually retire and these sources that you could use as help when you do retire. It's incredible to think about. And so we're helping people. If you haven't had a plan yet and gone through those calculators and gone through those things, reach out to us because we are helping people do that as we speak. The New York Public Library had 126 registrants and people that we're able to help. So make sure you reach out to us because, folks, we do this every week. I'll get this episode out so you can hear it, digest it, share with family and friends, and we will talk to you next week.